It's Stress Awareness Day today, and I'm very happy to start this day with an interview with my co-host Danielle Sax, who is an expert in conscious self-care and also the author of Shifting Out of Chronic Stress. Danielle, we started this adventure in July, and look where we are. Here we are today, International Stress Awareness Day. We have tons of interviews lined up for the whole day. I want to thank you very personally for making this happen together, because together we really have done something amazing. And people will see later on all these wonderful interviews that we've done. But we cannot start without introducing ourselves, can we? So, Danielle, who are you?
Oh, wow. Who am I? It's one of the basic questions in life. Hey, Tom. And so I'm just going to add to what you've said that I am a passionate, let's say, I'm a very loyal person. I'm a passionate person, and
I know
this whole event has become, a sort of mission, because I have been involved with stress since a very young age. I was 5.5 years old when my little brother died. And that is a major event in somebody's life, certainly in a child's life. And so I could, as a very sensitive person, I could feel all the pain and all the suffering and the stress that it brought to my surroundings. And there and then, I actually decided for myself, I am going to be the good girl, the good daughter. I'm going to help and save and please everybody else. I don't want any more suffering in this world, which was an unconscious decision, but it has determined a lot of, what has happened in the course of my life till today. So, yes, I am also, let's say I'm also a young grandmother. I'm very, very excited about that. The second one is on the way. So I'm very passionate and very, excited about that too. But if we go back to stress, I'm a physiotherapist. That's one of the reasons about the, losing my little brother that stimulated me to actually go and help people. So I became a physiotherapist, and that's where I discovered that people under stress had a lot of symptoms, physical symptoms, even emotional symptoms, and that there was a relationship between the body and the mind. And so that whole, all these insights have become very important to me as a physiotherapist, but it was only when I got a very serious stress-related illness that actually my whole immune system collapsed from one day to another, that I actually have been more involved with stress than ever. It's since that period, being ill myself, having that experience, that stress has become, a very important part of my life.
So it's really the way you got into the stress topic is on different levels. It's already from a very young age, you started to unconsciously make already decisions that that over time concretized into a sort of inner drive to help others, and then finding that speciality of the topic of stress, again through your personal experience but also through your professional experience, and then building up on that further. So how did you then, what was the criteria, let's say like that shifted you out of your own chronic stress? Because that's also, I'm just thinking that's a perfect word, and that is also the title of your book. But
yes.
So what was your personal shift there?
Thank you for asking that, because I didn't use shifting out of chronic stress for nothing. Because first of all, shift is what we all need. We need first to be aware, to become conscious of how we are thinking, acting, feeling, what is going on in our body. So that is going from an unconscious to a conscious thing, and it's almost a shift in awareness that is the first step to do. And why the chronic stress? And you're talking about personal, my personal experience. Starting at 5.5, it has been, we underestimate what chronic stress does to our body. We all know about stress, but for me, and that's what I explain in my book, it is the chronic stress that is so debilitating, that is so dangerous, because without realizing it, and you talked about it too, in your work, I know you talk about it too, it is doing things that you're not supposed to do, doing a job that you're not supposed to do, being with a partner that you're not supposed to be. Every event in our life gives us, it's first of all, it's meant to be, it gives you lessons, but it gives you a lot of stress. And in my book, and I want to tell that to our audience today, because for me, it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this International Stress Awareness Day. It's to make people realize that most stress is all about fears. It's all about the fear of not being good enough, the fear of not being enough, the fear of failing, the fear. I see it in my practice every day. And so the fear of not being good enough is, for many of us, the underlying factor of chronic stress. And so that is my message to the audience today is chronic stress is the killer. And so we need to go and find out what our limiting beliefs about ourselves are. What are these fears? And you talked about it too, Tom. What is going on in our lives? Who do we want to be? Who are you? You asked me the question, but it's a journey. You can't just say I am. It's a journey, because it changes every time. As a youngster, I was a different person than as a young married mother, than as a young grandmother now. So for me, it is such an interesting, beautiful journey to find out what your stress is, what is your chronic stress, what is, killing you, what is eating you. One of our experts, talked about it's what you think and it's what you eat. And I always say, what is eating you? Because that is your stress today. So I hope that answers a bit your question. I can talk about it for hours. So you need to,
I need to stop
me.
But it is what you're saying is, speak up and speak out about stress is very important. And your message here, what you've been saying is, please find out, what takes energy away from you and what resources you. And this is because you have to find out from what are those things that are eating me from the inside. So what that is taking energy away from you, and what are those ones that are filling you up? Because you need to find both. Life will always be, there's some things going out and some things going in, but there must be a balance between these two. And with
can I say something about that? Because you address something very important here, because that I call myself an expert in conscious self-care. But a lot of people, Tom, and we need to address this maybe to our audience today, a lot of people, because they have that fear of not being good enough, have been conditioned that putting others first is the right thing to do. That they have to live the life, like the outside world is telling them to live it. And that is what I stand for, is that conscious self-care and self-love are your birthright. You have the right to fill up your cup, like you say, to fill yourself up first, because you're gonna help and please and save others from a totally different, energy too. So I'm the best example in that. The first 38 years of my life, I was living for the outside world. Like I said, trying, not making anybody suffer. I didn't dare to hurt anyone. I was always doing everything to please, save, and care for everybody until you get sick. And that's a sign of the universe to say, wait a minute, what about me? Who am I? What about me? How am I going to fill up this cup? And so I want to say here, which is very important to me, as a physiotherapist, I was helping people, treating their symptoms for them, and they would come back 3 months later with the same migraine or the same thing. So for me, I made that shift, and I have a mission now to help people to help themselves, because you need to you are responsible for your own life. It's about self-accountability, self-compassion, self-reliance. It's all about these things. So conscious self-care is a complete spectrum of mental, emotional, physical, and even spiritual care for yourself. And you owe it to yourself to do that. It is your birthright. And I really, it's one of my, my that's why I'm living now. My purpose, my mission is to make people aware that they have the right to put themselves first.
And to shine. It's interesting that you're saying that, because I also seen in my practice that, and also personally, before 35, you seem to be, doing things for other people, to please other people. From about 35, and you said 38, it's a really like that moment where you say, and what about me? So when you're saying, there's a lot of references I have to bring the audience back to. Like before you said about, we are changing, I'm not the same person when I was 5 years old as I am now, but also there are certain ages.
Yes.
And also there are certain questions that need to be answered. And we seem to forget that. We seem to forget that each age comes with a sort of request, and that you have to dare to look at these quests and answer them, because if you don't answer them, you might have a lot of stressors coming to you. 29, it's about, what have I done? Where am I going? Which comes back at about 58, and 35 is a very classical, where you put yourself into question, say, what about me?
I always talk about 33, Tom. You say 35. I always say Jesus, was 33 when everything, around him happened. And you're absolutely right. But I'm past 50, so I say life only starts at 50, because because it is true what you say. But I just want to say to people that every age is beauty, of course, but every day in your life, you have a choice to live from the outside inward, which gives you, I promise you, a lot of stress, or from the inside outward, which is you decide, you choose. It's up to you, and you have that right, and that is, for me, almost sacred.
Yes.
That people start to take care of themselves, that people start to value themselves, love themselves, have compassion for themselves. And so in my book, because we talked about shifting out of chronic stress, I developed a 7-step process to do just that. And it's that spectrum, like I said, it's 7 steps that cover and the physical, and the emotional, and the mental, and the spiritual, because it is a journey. It is an inner journey, Tom. It is not an outer. It's not, I'm going to do this and then it's going to go better. It's an inner journey to me. And it's a combination with your body, your mind, your soul, your purpose. And it's such an interesting, passionate subject too, because we are whole, perfect, complete as diamonds. We are born as diamonds, but we don't believe it. So it's time to find out and to take that, right into your own hands to see, your question, who am I and what am I here to do? And, so I love the fact that the two of us have done this International Stress Awareness Day. I did the first one last year and on a small level. But this year, you can feel the buzz. You can feel everybody wanting to talk about it. I mean, speak up and speak out about stress. The William and Harry, the princes in the UK, talked about the stressor that actually happened to them 20 years ago. It's like me talking about what happened to me as a child of 5.5 years old. There was nobody to talk to. My mother said, and I love my mother to bits, but she said, you didn't even cry. It was fine. You were okay. We were okay about it. We went through it. But I didn't as a child. I was 5.5. There was no coaches. There was only a psychiatrist and a psychologist. And that was all. Now you have so many possibilities to do personal growth, to go into personal development, to do the mindful living, to do the meditations. Everything helps, but it's up to us to see what helps us. So it's time for the audience to start helping themselves and finding out what is working for me against stress.
Yeah, I think one of us mentioned that as well. So, in one of the interviews, it's definitely also mentioned. So, something that the audience can look out for to get some more information on that. But as you said, everything starts with oneself. Also the events that we experience and the way we react to it and the way that our environment is then also influenced. Because if we are more stressed, then of course our environment feels that, and it changes relationships, it changes our outlook, it changes the way we experience things. So yes, everything starts from within. And when you have to have a change, yes, it's changing from the inside out, which is far more effective. And also, it's far more direct. There is a word which is called holon, Holon, which means you are as much part as the whole. You are an individual and you are society. And the way I see that is, if you wait for society to change, you're waiting for yourself. And it's so important that, indeed, with all the means that we have today, compared to even 17 years ago or 20 years ago, things didn't exist in our Western world. Now we have all these opportunities, and still we are not taking them. It's like we are really always waiting for somebody else to do something. And while we have to do it ourselves, I think you, as well as myself, we are an example of how taking care of oneself changes so much, changes one's experience, one's motivation, one's, the balancing of the stress levels that, everybody has, that we are experiencing as well. But we can deal with it because we learned how to do that.
I do think, Tom, and I want to express this from my heart to everybody listening, that we still think today, and that is a condition, it's a limiting belief, we still think today that it is a weakness to talk about what is stressing you, to talk about your suffering, to talk about, we still think so. I do believe that people keep it too much inside, and they wait until the body is giving them such huge signals, because in the beginning I didn't listen to the signals that my body was giving. So, it is so important to listen to your body, to listen to the signals, but we are conditioned not to do that. We are conditioned to say, oh, everything's fine. And so I want to say today that, speak up and speak out about stress, if you ask me, is a strength. It's a for me, it's proof of consciousness, of awareness, of knowing what is going on in your life. Of course, there's a difference between talking about it and talking about it. Some people go into the victimized, and talk about their drama all day long. And they, even standing in the queue for them, at the counter is a drama, and they make a drama of it. That's not what I mean. I mean about talking about your real stress, your fear of not being good enough, your inner fears that everybody has them. We are all the same. So I do want to say that I really love that theme of this year, Speak Up and Speak Out about stress, because it is a strength. So stop thinking that you need to go to a psychiatrist or something is wrong with you because you are stressed. Nothing is wrong with you. It's logical in this society where you have 24-hour availability, pressure, speed. I don't have to tell you all the things that are going on. And so let's speak up and speak out about it. It is not a weakness, it is a strength. And people like me and Tom, I am there to help others to help themselves. And so we need to break that barrier. I'm available, I'm there. There's no, before it used to be, I used to, the help, the doctors, the people used to be up there. I mean, used to look at them like, they're on a pedestal, and that time is over. We need to realize that we need communication, we need connection, and that theme for this year I found is really, really, really excellent.
Yes.
So
that part of getting professional help when you need it, and do it before it is too late. Find somebody that you connect with, because sometimes you have to try a few professionals before you find the one that really resonates. Anyway, Danielle, to end our interview together,
yes,
can you give one phrase to the audience to say from, this is, my message to you on this Stress Awareness Day?
You know me, and I've got a lot of sentences, so it's very hard to find one, but there is one that I use often because it is still for me something that people need to integrate and that people need to take the right to do, and that is, you are your best investment. Not your house, not your car, not, it is your relationship with yourself and your potential and your development, and you are your best investment. And that is my wish for the whole audience that we have, here today, is invest in yourself. Listen to the interviews, take some tips, start doing something, go out and register for a course, come and talk to me. There's so many ways to invest in yourself. And for me, that's where it all starts. So we haven't been doing that, 50 years ago, that was not done. Investing in yourself was not done. Today, it's not even a luxury, it's a necessity. It is absolutely a necessity and your birthright. So that's how I see it, and I hope I can help the audience with that.
Great. So thank you, Danielle, for this interview. We have, about 12 more, 13 more to go today. It's full. Every detail can be found on the website.
Yes.
For people who have just connected with us, you know, this INSAD2017.com.
Yes.
Well, let's speak again at the end.
Yes.
Okay. So
looking forward to it.
5 o'clock.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.